If you're a blogger or content creator and you feel like you're working way too hard for the results you're getting, we need you to hear this. The Smart Influencer Summit is happening this April, and this is not another fluffy conference where you take notes and change nothing. This is a working summit.
We're bringing together serious creators who are ready to tighten up their systems, fix their monetization leaks, and finally build a business that doesn't depend on hustle mode 24/7. It's intimate, it's strategic, and it's built for creators who are past the beginner phase, but not quite at team of 20 and private equity level. If you're tired of guessing and ready to execute with clarity, grab your ticket now at thesmartinfluencer.com/summit. We'll see you in the room. Welcome to the Smart Influencer Podcast. If you're tired of chasing algorithms, second guessing your strategy, or feeling like you're doing all the things without seeing the growth you want, you're in the right place.
We're your hosts. I'm Christina,
And I'm Corinne.
and we're bloggers, business owners, systems nerds, and founders of the Smart Influencer. Between the two of us, we've built multiple six-figure brands, launched digital products, hosted live events, and coached creators who are ready to level up.
Each week, we break down what's actually working in today's creator economy, from monetization and list growth to systems, automation, and building a business that doesn't own you. Because this isn't about hustling harder.
It's about building smarter. Let's get into it.
So today we are talking with Stephanie Moon from stephmoon.co, and we're going to be talking all about what agents, editors, and publishers really look for right now. So welcome to the show, Stephanie. We're super excited to talk with you today. Before we dive in, though, can you take just a second to talk about yourself, like who you are, and let our listeners know a little bit about you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So super excited to be here. My past is I worked in traditional publishing at a bunch of different houses for like 15 years. And while I was there, as many people know, publishing their departments are small and lean and do a lot. So I got to probably do stuff that I never should have been like given the opportunity to because the departments were so small. And I'm so grateful for that experience. But what I really saw was that authors didn't understand part of their job is to market their book.
Mm.
And once they they were really focused on the creation of the book, which is something, I think takes a lot of time and effort. That by the time they got to marketing, they also felt a little bit burnt out. They were like, what do you mean I have to have an audience, have a newsletter, have a like da da da, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's part of the process, right? You can't write a book and then not sell it because that means you've literally wasted all this time. Because, you as an author, as I'm saying all the time, you're your best salesperson.
Mm.
So you have to know how to sell your book. That's what publishers want to see.
It's funny, we're laughing because Christina and I always joke about how we're terrible at selling stuff. We love to build stuff. Like we love to
Yeah.
build digital products, and we always struggle with the selling of it, which is literally at least half the job, if not
Yeah.
more.
It is absolutely half the job. Time and time again, I run into people. So I talked to this one author who had, I think, three books. She owned a marketing agency. And she's like, when I wrote my first book, I really wish I knew that it would be like 6 months to a year of marketing after to really give it a fair shot, right? To
Mm.
really do as much as I could when it was launching. And she's like, instead, I wrote the first book and then started on the second one right away. And I didn't give either one the like time and space to really flourish, right? And I talked to another doctor who has written many books, and he also has said, like, the book that you write, you have to be ready to talk about for like 2 years,
Right.
right? A little bit before and then after. So it's definitely part of the process, and I just really want to help people like know that and know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question because before we started recording, you were asking us, like, would our audience be more interested in self-publishing or publishing? And listeners, we hope we guessed right. We thought both, right? Like you don't know which side of the aisle you're on. Um, in my imagination, then if you're going to work with a publisher and they get to keep more of the money, that becomes part of their job. Is that not?
What do you mean part of their job?
The marketing, that all of a
Oh,
sudden I can take
oh,
some of this
yes,
off
okay.
my, because that's one of the things that you're going to get from working with a publisher, that you don't have to do all of the jobs that have to do with publishing a book?
Kind of. So
Okay.
your publisher, their marketing team is working so hard. But their main focus is something different than yours. So your publisher's main focus is selling in or doing a B2B sale. They're looking to sell into Barnes and Noble, independent booksellers, Green Apple, if it's a cookbook, Crate and Barrel, Williams
Hmm.
Sonoma, they're looking to sell into a business. Your job as an author is to sell to the customer.
To the
So
reader.
you're saying, "Oh, follower, please please go buy my book," right? Because if books are okay, so once books are sold into like let's say Barnes and Noble,
Hmm.
you don't get like credit or it doesn't count as a sale until a reader buys it, brings it
Right.
to the register, and brings it home, right? Because books are returnable in most places. And if they're returned, that doesn't count as a sale. In fact, a lot of returned books can be damaged. So it kind of like you don't have to
Mhm.
pay for that, but also means it's not sellable.
Right. So you're counting on the retail sales, not necessarily the wholesale sales going to the sellers. Like, yeah, so the publisher is doing the wholesale sales to the
Yes, yes,
seller,
yes.
and we're
Yeah,
marketing to the retail customers to actually go into those sellers and buy the book and
yes,
ask for it and build that brand recognition and that name recognition.
So it is a good partnership
Yeah.
because the publisher is making sure that people can get the book if they go
Yeah.
looking for it, but you can sell more to the stores that will sell it if people come in and buy it and are looking for it. So
exactly.
very
Exactly.
symbiotic. Got it.
They
Yeah.
work hand in hand, right? Because I feel like a lot of self-published authors are like, I would love to be in my local bookstore, B&N, whatever. And I'm like, okay, you have to like find these buyers, see where you'll fit in. Do they take self-published books, right? But if you're going with a publisher, they have like
Hmm.
deep relationships with these people already.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, over the holiday time period, one of the books that I had published, I walked into my local Barnes and Noble and I'm like, there it is. Like I had this
Right?
moment. If I didn't look like a dumpster fire at the moment, I would have taken photos, but I literally look like really bad. I didn't take
I
any
mean,
photos with it.
but wasn't that so cool?
Oh,
Like to,
it was a surreal moment. It was
did you
so much
sign it?
fun. No, everybody said I should have signed them and left them. I'm like,
Yes.
no, I'm gonna get in trouble. So I
No.
didn't.
Well, two small things about that. One, people love to sign book, and two, a signed book is non-returnable because it's
Oh.
because it's signed. And
Huh?
Barnes and Noble is usually pretty like excited, because consumers like to buy a signed book. It feels more
Yeah.
special, right? So
Right.
what they do is you sign it and then they usually will put a signed copy sticker on it and then they sometimes put it on a different table, right? For
Oh.
people who love
So it
signed
won't be
books.
on the bottom of the rack, but
Exactly,
okay, I'm
exactly.
gonna go back tonight and I'm gonna see if they're there.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I'm gonna bring a Sharpie.
Yes.
Okay, so Stephanie, let's start then with the like talking about what are the
Yeah.
differences so our audience can figure out like is this something I'd want to pursue and if so, which path would I take?
Yeah. So a book can be so many different things, right? And I think the main two ways people publish a book are self-publishing and traditional publishing. And each one has its pros and cons, right?
Hmm.
Self-publishing, what people really like is the author controls the timeline and has all creative control, right? You get to choose the cover, you get to choose the inside, you get to choose all of that. But I think that's also part of like the downfall. It's kind of like you will have decision fatigue because you have to decide everything. What is it going to look like? Who am I going to use? Do I really like this? So as a self-published author, there's like a steep learning curve, I think, especially for your first one, because you're learning how to be an expert in all these different
Hmm.
departments, right?
Right.
Whereas if you work with a traditional publisher, like you don't have as much creative control, but everybody working on your book is an expert in what they're doing. So you have expert like managing ed people who proofread, who check for all that stuff. You have excellent cover designers, right? All they do all day long is design covers and design interiors, right? So your publishing house has so much expertise there, right? But also the timeline is different. So if you get a book deal tomorrow, it's going to be like 18 months till you see your book
Mm,
on the shelf, minimum.
right. Yeah,
But
I
if you
know. we were
Yeah.
talking about like how difficult it is too to do the self-published route. Our friends Randa Dirksen and Stephanie, not Stephanie, oh my gosh,
Stacy.
Stacy. Yeah, they did the Busy Day Dinners cookbook. And, I remember like Randa got like taking us through that process as she was going through it and the amount of work that went into it. But they put out a fabulous,
They
fabulous
did, but they
product.
were also a dynamic duo. Like
Yeah.
Randa has a lot of like, Randa just for fun does techie stuff, or like she can figure out how to code anything if you just give her enough time. And also has this very creative eye. Like she spent a long
Yeah.
time like working on design elements, and and Stacey's got a whole other set of skill sets. Like I feel like they were like to your point of you've got to
Yeah.
have lots of expertise. They were bringing a lot to the table
Mhm.
because they were doing it together. But yeah, it's a lot.
And splitting
It's
that
a
workload.
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, and I think especially for food and cookbooks are like 10 times as much work because you're writing the recipe, testing the recipe, finding people to test the recipe for you,
Hmm.
head notes, uh
Photos.
photography, styling it, right? Designing it. That's so much more than
Hmm.
just a words only book. And it's very expensive. Like I don't, professional shoots easily are 40 to $80,000
What?
for
I'm glad
cookbooks.
that's the word that came out, Corinne.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right, you have to a lot of it. Okay, think about what goes into it, right? It's a professional photographer. Maybe that person has an assistant. You might need to rent a venue. You probably need a stylist or a prop person. You need to cook all the food. You need to buy all the ingredients.
Mhm.
Like, that's just a lot. Like, I saw, in the past 6 months or a year, there's been like a lot of more in-depth looks at like what it's like. And I remember one thing in particular, it was like, we tried to like do a coffee run in the afternoon for everybody, right? And they were like, it was $120 every time. Because it's like everybody who's on set, a coffee, maybe
Right.
some cookies or something. And they were
Right.
like, so all of this stuff really adds up if you want it done well, right? Because I
Right.
think too, if you're gonna do something, you want it to look good.
Yeah.
Like the self-publishing like resources have really upgraded, I would say, in the last 3 to 5 years. But still, you can tell like when books are self-published versus
Mhm.
have somebody that's a little more experienced working on it.
Right.
Do
Right.
you
Right.
have any data? I don't know why you would, so I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you happen to have any data on, I don't even know how to ask this question. Like, if someone, just an ordinary person, like an ordinary blogger, wanted to publish it, like any data that would show like the self-published or the publisher one outperforms like 3 to 1, like any type of data
Oh,
that would point to that?
no. Because
Okay.
I think that there's a lot of food content creators and food bloggers who blow it out of the water doing self-publishing because they have a really engaged following. They have a lot of people who have been following them for a long time and a lot of people like really loving the recipe, so asking for that, so then supporting by buying the
Hmm.
book, right? And I've heard some crazy numbers for people who have like a lot of followers, the amount of money they can make, right? They spend a lot to make the book look good, but then
Sell a lot.
It comes back.
the stream of income, I was like, damn, that's like some good looking revenue.
Okay, so I'm a checklist person. So like so if you like the ideal person to self-publish, like you self-publishing might be right for you if you've got a large loyal following that you know you could sell to, you want to maintain creative control, you have a timeline that you don't want to be dictated to, like you've got to work around certain other things. What else, like what things make the ideal like
Um,
that for sure I'd go the self-publishing route.
you want to learn a new skill, you have the capacity. I think that's also what it is.
Yeah.
If you're creating, especially food content, like full time,
Mhm.
you need to have capacity to work on the book, right? It's like, writing new recipes, photographing them, doing the whole process, right? Because if you're self-publishing and doing it by yourself, there's a lot to do. Even just like, how many pages is my book going to be, right? For an editor at a publishing house, that's easy, right? But like for you, you're like, okay, how many recipes do I want? What's gonna work? Like, where am I gonna print my um book, right? Am I
Okay,
just
sorry,
gonna,
Stephanie, I'm going to interrupt you one more. Okay, I have a question that fits in
yeah,
here.
yeah.
So, okay, so if let's stick with the cookbook since we're talking about that. If I am a food blogger that's never published before, want to publish I want to self-publish a cookbook. How much, because if I publish with the publisher, I still have to do the recipe testing, I have to do all of that. So how much extra time? Does it double the time? Does it triple the time if I self-publish versus do all of that content and hand it to a publisher,
I
roughly?
definitely definitely do not know the answer to that because everybody's process will be different, and some houses do help you find and help you pay for the recipe testing. Some
Gotcha.
Mm.
houses, help you pay for the photography. Just everything
Sure.
kind of depends. And then also,
And if you're a
what,
great researcher and you learn
Yeah.
fast, your system might be faster. Okay.
like what's in your contract? What
So
does the
there's a
house
lot of
like to do?
variables.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, quick pause. Because if you've been thinking about coming to the Smart Influencer Summit but haven't pulled the trigger yet, let's talk. If you've ever left a conference fired up and then 3 weeks later you're right back where you started, yeah, we built this to fix that. This summit is designed around implementation. You won't just listen, you'll plan, you'll workshop, you'll think through your actual business, your traffic, your offers, your systems with other creators who get it.
And here's the thing, this is not a 500-person ballroom event. It's intentionally small so the conversations are real. The networking actually matters, and you're not just a badge walking around. If you're a mid level blogger making money but feeling stuck, this is your room. Tickets are limited. When they're gone, they're gone. Head to the smartinfluencer.com/summit and secure your seat. Future you will be very glad you did.
Okay.
Okay, we're
So,
trying to nail you down to some things here.
I'll bite my lip
but
now.
but
Okay.
that's
No,
but
it's good.
that's
It's good data, but like, yeah, we told you we try to ask the questions I think someone might be thinking, and they're popping in my head, so I'm assuming other people are thinking
Yeah.
it. Okay. So self-publishing, you want to learn a new skill, you've got the capacity, you've got a strong following, you'll be able to promote it too.
I think you have to be disciplined too. You'd have to
Oh,
have quite a bit of, and that probably goes for both of them.
yeah.
I think you have for self-publishing, you have to be okay being a beginner, and you also have to know that like know how you're going to sell your book, because at least if you're with a traditional publisher, at least they're selling it into retailers. So let's say your book is on sous vide vegetables, right? If it's in a bookstore, the bookseller will sell it when somebody says, I'm looking for some new ways to cook vegetables. Maybe like grilling, maybe like sous vide. And then the bookseller will be like, oh, here's this sous vide vegetable cookbook. Here you go, right? But if you're self-publishing, nobody is doing that for you. You
Hmm.
have to create every single sale.
Right. So I would imagine too, if you're working with a traditional publisher, well, they're not doing the marketing for you. They could probably give you some best practices, some guidelines, some strategies, some ways to go about doing that marketing.
I mean, a lot of
Yes.
it will be your audience. So okay,
Right.
so your publisher, I think this is what I think a lot of authors don't understand. When you're going with a traditional publisher, every single time they give somebody a book deal and give them an advance, they are gambling, they are taking a
Mhm.
gamble
Right.
because whether the book is good or not, that author is then getting that advance, however much it is, right? Because that's what the contract says. So the publisher is not actually making any money until that author has earned out their advance.
Right.
So part of what makes authors appealing to a publisher is if they know how to sell their book. That's what
Mm.
they want to see, right? Because the publisher is obviously in business. They want to
Mm.
make money. And they can only make money if books are actually selling.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's why you see so many celebrity books because they have the platform where they could
Right.
very easily sell it.
But I also think that's almost a myth. Not all celebrity books do well,
Right.
for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah, you see them in those. Like we have a store near us where it's like it's like they buy up all the bargain basement books and you can get
Mm.
them for like 2.99. Yeah. And then I'm
But
like,
that's
oh, I always look for my book there saying, oh, I hope I don't see it here.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think necessarily a big audience translates into big
Right.
sales because if your audience is just used to watching funny videos, like what's going to compel them to buy a
Yeah.
20, 30, $40 book, right?
right.
So I'm thinking too, a lot of the pre-work that you would need to do for this is going back to creating the right content for your audience and the right book. And I
It's
mean, worked with
it's
a lot of
really
bloggers like
knowing
that.
your audience, right? Like
Yeah,
what do they want? And also, what do they want from you? What can you only provide? And
right.
then why do they need to spend their money on this book versus just continuing to follow you
And getting it
on
for free
socials?
on the
Or
internet.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Like we've worked with a lot of bloggers over the years, Corinne and I, and that seems to be a common problem, not problem, a difficulty that people struggle with is what type of content to create. Like, where is that sweet spot of the type of content that I'm comfortable with versus what my audience is looking for and what they're willing to pay for?
What they're willing to pay for. That is the biggest one.
Hmm.
Right.
Trying to
And
make that leap from this. I know what content they came to me for to get for free.
hmm,
What does that tell me about what they're willing to pay
Yeah.
me for?
right.
Yeah. Okay, so another question.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's say someone's listening and they're like, wow, self-publishing just sounds way too hard. I don't have that type of audience. I don't have the time. I don't want to learn how to design book covers. I want to find a publisher. I want to
Yeah.
work with, I really would like to publish a book. Like, I'd like to have that credential. I'd like to earn money in a different way. What is their next step? Like, how do you go about finding a publisher? How do you pitch to them? How do you make yourself an attractive client for them? And more importantly, how do you negotiate a good advance?
Yeah. So many questions.
So
So
many
many
questions.
questions, so many answers. So
Okay.
some houses will take unsolicited like manuscripts and proposals, right?
Mhm.
So that's no agent. You can just send your stuff in, and if they like it, they'll contact you, right?
Okay.
I would say less and less people, houses do that. So a lot of the bigger houses where you would theoretically be getting bigger advances, you need to have an agent, right? So that's like a big pre-step to publishing. That also takes time. So
Hmm.
an agent, wait, do you know a lot about agents?
No.
Okay.
Not at
An
all.
agent is basically your mediary between the author and the publisher. So this agent also takes a percentage of your advance and any royalties, but they are your champion, right? They know the ins and outs of like the business part of publishing. And so then they can help you negotiate a better deal, right? They can help you say like, "Oh, this feels like really in line with what's happening. This feels low. This feels high." They're so excited. They have a lot of context. Um, but finding an agent is a process, right? Because they have to want to represent you because
Mhm.
they are also not getting paid until you get your first paycheck.
Mhm.
Right. So they have to have
So,
that confidence in you and you have to prove yourself.
yeah, and it's really like you're dating slash marrying them because
Mm.
think about this. Let's just use this big round number. $100,000, six figures, right? For an advance. Those are pretty big. And I would say if you have a small following, probably pretty hard to get, but $100,000 advance, six figures. So divided, usually I would say between three and five payments. So that's like, let's go with four, right? Easy math.
Mhm.
25,000 each time. Your agent takes 15% off the top, right? Then you have taxes. I don't know what that is, but it's not that much considering
Yeah.
that's like one payment, right?
Right.
And so they usually space it out like signing, signing the deal, manuscript turned in, full book turned in, and then like 6 months after or something. Like those are, you know,
Mhm.
um,
Right. Like an
some of the
average
touch
timeline.
points. So then think about like how long that is. When you sign the deal to 6 months after the book is out, that's like 3 years, 2 or 3 years, right? And all that time you're paying for stuff, um, and doing
Okay.
stuff, right? So, but an agent is very helpful in helping you negotiate. So, like, let's say you're an author and your publisher like has a cover, comes up with a cover that you really don't like. Your agent is there to help you have that conversation.
Mm.
They know that like more inside language to talk about and can provide, color for the publisher to understand where you're coming from, right? So they are, um, you know, for a lot of people really necessary. I know that there are definitely authors who are unagented at big houses, but I would say that they're probably less frequent, and also they're really experienced and probably have legal, like a lawyer look at it separate from their agent,
Hmm.
just
Mhm.
on the
I mean,
side.
that's a whole other area of expenses that you have that we haven't even talked about is like the legal end of it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot there.
a
Okay,
lot to consider.
so like $100,000 advance, probably pretty uncommon for our, I hate to make assumptions about our audience, but like I would think most people listening don't have an audience size that's going to earn them $100,000
Mhm.
advance. So let's say it's, I don't know, a quarter of that,
Mhm.
25,000. So 25,000, you've got an agent who's taking 15% of that and you're paying tax on it. This is already sounding like a lot of work for very little money in my pocket.
Mhm.
So, is
Turns
there
out.
a reality? I mean, Christine and we've had this conversation amongst ourselves too, because we both published not because we were making boatloads of money off of it, but because we wanted that credential. We wanted to
Mhm.
be a published author.
Mhm.
Is that why you would do it now? Is publishing a route that people are going now because it's a legitimate revenue stream? Because that's one of the things we're focusing on, helping our friends and our listeners make money in new ways.
Yeah.
Is this a path they should be looking at?
Um, I think it can be, but you have to be really thoughtful plus zoom out on the big picture. So this
Okay.
is how I see especially food content creators making money. Your book, if you even if you're getting 25,000, right? Split over 4 times, right?
Right.
So little money, right? For over 3 years, right?
Right. Right. Right.
That's it. It feels like little, but what that does buy you is visibility. It buys you credibility for your audience. Like, hey, I published a book with 10 speed, even if it's a small book, right? So it's kind of like a stepping stone or like a ladder to get to the next level.
Hmm.
Because a lot of authors use their book as kind of like a just bringing your brand to the next level.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you can get better brand deals. You can get better speaking opportunities. You can charge more for your online workshops, your in-person workshops, whatever it is.
Mm.
It's kind of you use that as a credibility point, and then also theoretically, your publisher is also doing publicity. So then you can say, I was on NPR, I was on local news, I was on, and that helps build you as build your brand
Hmm.
in a way that feels like, oh, once you have been on your 5 local news stations, maybe a smaller talk show will want to have you on their show, whatever it is.
Right.
So it's that little, stepping stone, because then after you have that first little book for 25,000, if your book sells really well, will your next book deal will probably be bigger.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so that's how you kind of like build it. I would say you can make money from publishing, but I think a smart way is also to consider how else is it making everything else you do
Yeah.
more
Yep.
valuable, and how can you get paid more for that?
Right. Right.
We had Katie Trant on very recently, and she was talking about branding and about having your like being super clear on who you are and then like presenting that to the world. And I see this, right? Like there's so much value in the
Hmm.
brand. And like this is such a key piece of that, or it can be if you do
Yeah.
that right. And there are so many intangibles that turn into cold, hard cash, right? Like at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do as businesses.
Right.
So, okay, that makes sense. You
And
may
I,
not be getting the cold, hard cash right out of your first deal, but it's a building block to all of it.
yeah, and I
Exactly.
think it goes back to something you said very early on. Like creating the content or the book is, I think we said 50-50, but I think it's even more. I think that's 20%. The 80% is marketing. And I say that all the time, like with our blog content. Like creating content is only about 20% of what I do. The other 80% is promoting that existing content to people because they forget it, it falls off their radar. You have to be consistent. Like it's just a lot of work that goes into that. And you can't just create and be like, oh, I'm done. Thank God.
Right.
Let me take a rest and on to the next thing. And you can't. You have to
Right.
feed the beast.
Right. And I think that even with books, right, or even thinking about an audience, a lot of authors I work with are like, "Oh, I already said that. I already shared this." I'm like, nobody saw it. Like, not to not to be too
Nobody
mean.
saw, and if they did, they don't remember it.
Exactly. Nobody saw it. You like, can you tell me what you saw in line as at the grocery store while you were scrolling, waiting for your turn? No, right? People need to hear it and see it again and
Yeah.
again. And so you need to also like reuse your stuff.
Yeah.
And also, if you wrote a book last year and you've had 10,000 new followers, none of them know you wrote a book
Hmm.
unless you have said, here's my book on grilled cheese,
Right.
right? You need to be your best advocate, right? And that's also where I feel like a lot of authors feel like, I don't want to be too salesy. I don't want to be salesy. And I'm like, oh, and I get it. I get it,
Yeah.
right? Like we talked about, it's sales is a skill that
Right.
you have to learn. And the best way to learn is just be on the spot, like because learn how to sell your book because then your next book you'll know more.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, it is true. You have to like literally clobber people with marketing messages because we're being bombarded with hundreds of them every single day from every single
Right.
source all over. And you have to stand out from that noise.
I think a
Exactly.
big reason that bloggers struggle with it though is like many of us built our businesses on giving people content for free.
Hmm.
And so this notion of charging for the same information I've been sharing for free on the blog, right? Like it's a hard leap. Like I understand why I understand because we still struggle with it, Christina. But like I
Not
understand,
us.
yeah,
Oh, wink,
why
wink, but
people
no.
have trouble with it. But we've had enough people on talking about products and talking about creating things that your audience will buy that you're if you frame it as I am helping someone, like you're really helping them in a new way, like you're providing a resource that they need, it doesn't feel like you're trying to take money from them. It's that you're providing them with a solution to
Yeah.
something that, a problem that they have. So
It's
I'm
like
just gonna keep
retraining that
saying it out
negative.
loud till I think it right all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, I
Yeah.
was gonna say it's like retraining that negative self-talk that we have, except in this case, it's like I can't sell. Well, it's not, I'm not selling, I'm helping. And you just have to always make, I have to, when I say you, I mean me, have to consciously make that distinction in my brain that it's not selling, it's helping.
Yeah.
It's a service. Selling
Yeah.
is a service, right? You're
Right.
helping somebody making dinner easier because you have a book where they've bookmarked their five favorite recipes so
Yep.
they can easily make it instead of having to find their phone and then find your recipe, whatever it is. But
Right.
it's thinking about how you're helping.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take a brief detour here. We're going to wrap with this, but I'm not trying to wrap at this particular moment. But because I think it's an interesting thing you do that I think our
Yeah.
audience would also be interested in, and that is Substack. That has been a very new buzzword in our space. I'd say just over the last like 6, 8 months, Christina,
Yeah.
where people
Mhm.
are really talking about Substack and people are trying it. That is where you like, right? Like that's what we're going to talk about, how people can find you and interact with you. But you're doing it on Substack, is that right?
Yeah. So I'm on Substack. I know a lot of creators have been on Substack for years. And I think Substack used to be more for just writers or people writing, but I
Hmm.
think it's definitely turned a little bit more social, which some people think is good and some people think is bad.
Hmm.
Um, but Substack has that discoverability, right? Because people can recommend you, people can link to you, obviously, right? But what I've seen is that when bigger Substackers who have dedicated audiences mention a book, pre-order my friend's book. I love this book. Here it is, right? You see a
Huh.
um, increase in pre-orders, right? You
Right.
you can see that, right? Um, and I think Substack, again, there's lots of like pros and cons. But it is also, I've had some authors start on Substack and they're like, whoa, this is a lot of work. And I was like, yeah, it's like a blog, except for you don't design it as much, right? It's
Yeah.
still a lot of writing. You still include photos. Um, but the way I think people use it is a little different because
Mm.
people are already on the platform, they can read it versus your blog is like separate, right? It's its
Right.
own thing kind of over here.
Yeah.
Substack has just a lot of people interacting all in the same place.
It's kind of like for if we're doing digital products, kind of like Etsy. Like I know a lot of creators that will have their own Shopify store, will sell on their site in WooCommerce, but will also put, like I do this, I still put my products on Etsy because there are people that only shop for things on Etsy that wouldn't find me otherwise.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
I don't care that Etsy takes a commission because I wouldn't have sold it otherwise if I didn't
Yeah.
have it
That's
there.
like a good kind of way to look at it because some
Hmm.
people are just really used to Etsy. I want something personalized. I'm going to
Right.
go to Etsy, right? And so it's kind of like, oh, I want to see some writing. I want to see some writing about parenting. I love this one person. I'm going to see who they recommend, right? So Substack is definitely its own ecosystem
Hmm. Okay.
of content and community.
Okay.
Yeah, I know a lot of creators are moving to it because of everything that's happening in the industry because they can they can almost like a Patreon, right? Is that the
Yeah.
site
Yeah.
you're thinking of? Right.
You
So
can
that
have like a paid group
right.
and like some there's like there can be also different tiers. So like just paid, like there's like just different levels you can have. So you can offer different benefits.
Now, how is yours set up? Like how do you have your Substack set up?
Mine is set up all free because I thought about, oh, should I have like a paid one? But I was like, I don't feel ready to be able to also provide this extra level of depth or um, benefit
Right.
for the people who are paying because also it's like even if the subscription is $5 a month, right? I still want to make sure that I'm providing that value. And for
Yeah.
me, it's more like I just want to reach more people, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like I see authors all the time. They're like, Stephanie, why isn't my book selling? Is it bad? And I'm like, no, your book is not bad. Nobody knows about it though.
Yeah.
And because nobody knows about it,
Right.
they can't buy it. And then it's like teaching them how to market, why they need to market,
Hmm.
why they need to know their audience, right? And then eventually later it's like, oh, that's why I sold more books,
Right.
It's a long process. And I know people kind of it's their baby. Their books are their babies because it takes so much time and effort to make.
Right.
Right. So one of the things that you had said earlier was that the you need to start really before you're ready. You were talking about like pre-orders and pre-sales and things like that. Like how long of a lead time? Like if you're thinking about doing a book, when do you want to start getting your marketing ducks in a row?
Now, because marketing
The
The
thought is
moment
in
you
my
have the
head.
idea you
Start
want to
marketing it.
publish.
start marketing because marketing, right? As you too for sure know, marketing includes finding your audience, knowing them, knowing where they hang out, getting them to trust you, right? Those three things are like, or four things are so time consuming, take
Hmm.
so long, and also there's so much trial and error in that, right? You think they're going to be here, but they're not. You think they're going to like this, but they don't. You think, and that takes so much time. And it's also like a lot of, I think, mo emotional and mental like whiplash. Like, people really like this. They had 0 likes on this, right? So it's also being used to being visible
Right.
and then continuing, right? Having that that, what did you say, resilience or like
Right.
consistency, right? Because people need to see that you're one, who you say you are, and two, you're here to stay. People don't want to follow somebody that posts every 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's like, who are you? What are you posting? What's taking so
Right.
long? Like,
Right.
I
Right.
like this, I like this DIY for my garden, but there's no more. I can't wait six
Yeah.
months.
So,
I know
question for you about the audience, and then when it comes to securing either an agent or a publisher who wants to see that you have the ability to market and sell the book. Um, Is it more helpful to have a social media following than, say, email? Because they can see that without you having to give them back end access to something? Or is it
Um,
just as long as you can show, I email 5 times a week and I've got a 40% open rate and, my
yeah,
audience
I
engages.
think that is just as good, if not better, right? Email has a much higher conversion rate for
Yeah.
books, as well as I'm sure other products, right? So it's, your platform doesn't have to be social, right? I get that some people don't want to be on social or have a hard time, but then my follow-up question is, fine, if you don't want to be on social, how are you actually building your community?
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you out at other people's events, community events, industry events, like 3 times a week, one time
Yeah.
a week, every 6 months? Like, not being on social is fine, but that means you're doing that work somewhere else,
Somewhere
Mm-hmm.
else. Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
think people don't want to do that work somewhere else. Because I'm like, oh, are you going to get out of your house and like 2 times a week go to an event? They're like, no. And I'm like, okay, then
You got to replace it with something, right?
exactly. So you got
Yeah.
to be building that community, right? People have to know who you are. It doesn't
Yeah.
just it doesn't just happen overnight, right? And people have to also trust what you have to say. So you have to
Mhm.
build that over time.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was just thinking about one of the influencers I follow. She's primarily a social media influencer, and she recently published a book. And I loved her strategy for all the pre-promotion and everything. Because again, you start to think, oh, this could get so stale. Just saying, hey, pre-order my book, pre-order my book.
Right.
You're always you feel like you're literally just pimping yourself out to the world. But
Mhm.
she did it in such a clever way, I thought. Like, it would be like, help me pick the dress I'm going to wear for this. Like, here's three choices. I'm going to be going to promote my new book. Oh, by the way, here's where you can pre-order it. But these are the dresses I'm considering. Which one do you like, A or B? Like, I thought she was so clever in the way that she did that that I didn't feel like she was constantly promoting her book to me, but she was.
Mhm.
She was.
Yeah.
And I think that stuff like that, or also even bringing people on the journey, right?
Hmm.
That's what people love. Like, I know that I also describe readers in this way. I'm like, everybody is so nosy. They just want to know,
Yeah.
what's your coffee order? What does your closet look like? They want to know everything about you, right? If
Mhm.
they are following you, because it feels like that parasocial relationship, right?
Yeah.
And so the publishing journey is so mysterious, right? It's so opaque. So many people don't really know what it's like that when others really do share what it's like, people go crazy over that
Yeah.
content.
Yeah, I thought she really did it like in a great way. Like I was definitely not bored. I was highly entertained by the way she did it. And I think it just helps you create that content calendar for continually getting your message out there without feeling bored yourself, creating the
Right,
same message and graphics over and over and over again. And
right,
it was just I thought very, very well done.
right.
But yeah, people do like to peek behind the curtain. I mean, anytime you
Yeah.
can show that, and engage them in that way.
That that also creates gets them invested, right? They're like,
Mhm.
oh, did she choose this cover or this cover? Did she choose this picture or this picture? Like, I really liked this picture of the French onion soup. This
Yeah.
one looked like mud, whatever.
Yeah. I think
So
Randa and Stacy did that very well too. Like
yeah,
they were constantly in their Facebook groups and Instagram, like putting out like, do you like which photo would you like best on the cover? Like,
Yeah.
like they did a really good job with that. I think engaging their audience and pulling them into the process where they feel like they're invested.
Right. And looking forward to it. Like I was
Yeah.
so excited for their cookbook to launch because we knew it was coming for so long.
Hmm.
right.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
you want because that's, that that pre-order for a publisher is like a signal to how much interest is there.
Hmm.
And then that what that turns into if you're at a traditional publisher is like, oh, if this person has a lot of pre-orders, salespeople can go back and say, hey, you didn't want to take this, or you took 2 copies, but look, they have so many pre-orders. We think you should take 4. We think you should take 8.
Right.
It's there's definitely a lot of like downstream effects of
Yeah, it
having
gives
really great,
leverage.
yeah,
Yeah.
pre-order numbers.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But
Yeah.
also, I will also say pre-orders are not everything because I think still for a consumer, they don't get or don't want to give their money for something they don't get right away, right? When
Right.
in the age of like instant stuff, you can get something delivered to you on Instacart in 2 hours, whatever it is. So the idea of buying something and then waiting months is kind of hard. I think also I would love if authors remembered like your on sale date is actually your book's birthday. That's the first time somebody could hear about it and then literally go to the store, go online and buy it. So this is kind of like the start of promoting. You
Hmm.
have like a ways to go.
Yeah. So much work to do. Not only creating the book, but there's so much work to do, Stephanie.
Yes, and I will also say, right, like publishing is not for the faint of heart at all. There's so
Hmm.
much like at a house, it's like so much of a like hurry up and wait. There's
Hmm.
so much you can't see, but I think for a lot of people, right, it's like their dream to be an author.
Yeah.
Books are also um, like the oldest platform. They
Yeah.
don't just disappear, right? I mean, I guess they can and book bans, etc. But once somebody buys it, it's theirs.
Yeah. Theirs.
They can continually look at it every single day if they want. Whereas social media is like very different, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, when you think we're living in the world of Snapchat where messages disappear like immediately, like to have something that's tangible that you have, or you can, think about books that are passed down from family members, et cetera. I mean, it is,
Right.
and I think it's a very exciting thing for us as content creators who, all of our stuff exists digitally to have that printed, beautiful hardcover, so even if it's soft cover, just that you can flip through the page. Like there's something about holding a book.
There
Right.
is.
Right.
Yeah.
And for so many people, that's their dream, right? Like the stat
Mhm.
is 81% of Americans wish they could write a book.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
But 2% actually do.
Wow.
oh,
Because it's not easy, right? And
No.
it takes time and effort.
Yeah, it does take and after the fact, it takes a lot of effort, we're learning.
yeah,
Yeah,
after the fact too. I know.
it takes a lot of effort.
So
It's making me I right here is my bookshelf where I've got all of my books and my friends' books. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, 2%. Like
Yeah.
think of how
It
many of that
really
2%
I
you
know the
know.
top 2%. Like we're gonna call them the top. I know the top 2% of aspiring authors out
is
there.
I mean and then I think also, right, for authors to know, it is amazing because so few people actually do it.
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
And it's a big accomplishment and it does, I'm not gonna lie, it does feel nice. Like when you get that box sent to you and you get to open it up and see it like live and in person. It's very exciting. Very, very exciting. But
Yes.
you offer some great services to public or to authors, correct? Like
Yes.
you can really kind of, if we want to get into this, you can help hold our hand and guide us through that marketing journey, correct?
Yes. Yes.
You want
And
Yeah,
to,
so
please tell us more about exactly how
yeah,
you work with authors.
yeah, so I have some digital products. I also have like this big picture hour, right? So it's 1 hour strategy call. So that's kind of if you're just need some help, like what do I do? How do I decide? That's where we answer like 2 or 3 questions. And then I also have a one-on-one like coaching and consulting. So
mhm,
that's really where we like dig in deep, right? So like for instance, right now, one of my clients, her book is coming out in June. So it's end of January now. And so we've been working together for a few months already on just really capturing all her connections and figuring out like how are we going to leverage these for the launch and promotion of her
yeah,
book, right? Because that planning takes longer than everybody like wants to admit
mm,
or does, right? And she's really invested in her book being like really great, and all of that planning, people, I'm sure as content creators, you guys make it look so easy, right? Like I have never made like a food video. I have never made like some of the content that I know that you and probably your listeners make all the time. The point is, it's our job to make it look easy, but it's actually really hard,
Right.
right? So it's supposed to look easy that you're launching your book, but it's so much work on the back end, figuring out who to ask, what to ask, how are you going to bring these together? What's your value? How am I going to sell books? All of this, right? And so going in depth is what I like really love because it just takes time for authors to understand what to do and then how to do it.
Hmm.
Okay.
Well, and you've been in the industry for so long and you know like all the how all the moving parts work together. I think
Yeah.
that that is like valuable insight because I think you can guide that strategy
Right.
so much more efficiently than we could do it on our own. Like, yeah, could we sit there and Google it, and ask maybe ChatGPT how to do it and get us some help, but it's not going to be complete. It's not going to be thorough
Right.
or as
But
effective.
actually, just earlier today, Christina, you gave me something that's kind of reframed some of the questions I've been asking myself. You were looking at a spreadsheet that was really pretty that you could absolutely 100% build yourself, but it was on, I'm going to assume Etsy, I don't know where it was,
Etsy.
for $5, right? And she's like, okay, I could build it and it would take me maybe an hour or two to build it. Or I could buy it for $5, right? Like it's already there. Like that notion of, okay, we've learned a lot of skills to run a blog. So every listener here is capable of learning all these things.
Right.
But is that what you want to do? Like, wouldn't you
Mhm.
rather just go to someone that already has expertise and give them a little bit of money to do that so you can keep doing the stuff you actually enjoy with your time and it's making you a lot more money?
Yeah.
Like, I don't like it flipped a switch in me today. I'm like, why am I still doing some things that I could easily hire someone to do that are taking me too long or that I'm not
Oh,
enjoying?
well, I'm
So
glad I helped you with that
you
little,
did.
with my cheapskate complaint that I was making earlier today.
But yes,
Cheap
listeners,
to spend
like
$5.
if you are interested in publishing a book and you want to do that, but this all sounded like a nightmare, there's a solution.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
And
contact Stephanie.
but I think too, we have to look at this, right? We're a business. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes this is where we get stuck. We're so used to doing everything on our own. But as a business owner, you have to spend money to make money. And I could try to do it on my own and will probably crash and burn because it'll exhaust me and I'll give up and all that stuff. Or I could bring on a partner who's going to help me through that so I don't get to that point. And who knows where not to waste my time.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, thank you. Because also my just biggest pet peeve is when somebody has published one book and says they're an expert. And I'm like, that you don't know the
Yeah,
context of everything that's happened,
no.
right? Like,
Right.
even if you did get one six-figure deal, like there's still so much that you haven't seen, but just that when
Yeah,
you
and
said,
when you're exhausted from creating the product,
yeah,
your real
yeah.
work has yet to begun.
Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I just think there's so much opportunity, and I think the
Hmm.
other thing to remember is like there's so many different ways to publish now.
Yeah.
And they're all, you know, every author can choose what's best for them because
Hmm.
traditional publishing is not for everybody,
Right.
right? And
Right.
self-publishing is also not for everybody. It's also finding your way to figure out what's right for you plus your goals, right?
Right.
Like there's no shame in self-publishing, right?
Hmm.
Like I think before maybe there was, but now I'm like some of these books look so good and also you're making well all the money after you've, recouped whatever you've spent,
Right. Right.
So since
right?
I have an expert here on the line, I kind of have a question that it may not be about marketing, but it's a kind of like ideation for a topic. I have an ebook that does exceptionally well for me, right? People love it. It's an easy sell for me. It's not hard at all to get people to buy it. And I'm like, this needs to be an actual book. Like it needs to be like a hard copy book that people can hold in their hands. I think I would open the market so much more. Like, is that like a reasonable way to vet a topic for creating? Because if I'm
Um,
putting this much effort into creating a book, I want to make
yeah.
sure I'm not wasting my time on the topic.
So I think in this particular case, would you rewrite the book, add more, make it
Yes.
longer?
Yes.
Um,
I'd definitely add more.
then I say yes, since you
Okay.
know people already want it, right?
Mhm.
But I would also say if people are already buying it, like why? Why
Because
is
I think like so many people have said to me, I want this. I want a hardcover, like a I say hardcover, hard copy of this book. I think it would open
oh, oh,
a different market. So I did a promotion for it on a local TV station, and the day the show aired, I always say like I broke the internet. Like my site crashed, everything because there's so many people, and I'm not tooting my own horn, please. I am like
yeah. Wait, can you tell me the
that's
topic of the book?
yeah, it's flavored moonshine.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Okay. Um,
Yeah, so I make a bunch of different flavors of moonshine, and then I give you cocktails you can make with that flavor of flavored moonshine,
oh, I love that.
right?
Okay.
So I've just sold so many of them. I'm like I said, this is not coming from a braggy moment, but I'm just saying I think that there could be a market for that in a traditional book, whether it's self-published or traditionally published. I'm probably using all the wrong words.
Right. No, but I see. Okay. Yeah. So you have what is like proof of concept. You know people
Yeah.
want it,
Mhm.
right? So could you use that as a way to pitch to an agent? Yes.
Okay.
And you would have to redo most of it because I would say
Yeah.
most
Oh, yeah.
cookbooks, yeah, have to have like 80% new content.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable putting what I have now into
Yeah.
print at all, whether it was self-published or traditionally published.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about this.
I would
So
redo it all.
that's very interesting. Like I love the topic and yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like I tell this to listeners, like listen to this. That ebook started from one post. It was a one-off post I had on my site that did really, really well, and then I made an ebook about it. And then the ebook did really, really well. So, and it was a whole different audience because my audience there is mostly
Right.
men. Right? It's not the traditional moms who are cooking dinner or the easy recipes are coming to my website for. I get a lot of men buying that ebook. So it's just when you're thinking about content you want to create, like for an ebook or an ebook or a traditional hard copy book, look at that. Like look at your content and really dig into what's there.
What's performing? Yep.
So, Stephanie, I know Christine is going to be reaching out to you, but for our listeners, if they want to get in touch with you, we're going to put all the links in the show notes. But what are the best ways to contact you and find you and follow you, etc.?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, of course. The handle is Steph Moon Co. I'm on Substack, and my Substack is called the FAQs. So that's where I answered like the most commonly asked publishing questions. And I have a website, stephmoonco.com.
Nice. All
And
right,
we'll
we
put
will make sure all those links are in the show notes.
yeah.
Yes. This was so fun.
I know it was. I've still got so many questions.
So was I see Christy, I can watch
Oh,
them her wheels start turning. I'm like, oh, she does not have time to write another book, but I see her already planning
You
it.
want to, you want to. I love it.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Steph. If you want to take action on what we talked about today, make sure you hop over to her website, sign up for her Substack, and check out the resources that are there. I think you're going to find a lot of information to help you implement what you just learned today.
And we would love to hear from you too. So tag us on Instagram at the Smart Influencer with your biggest takeaway from today. Let us know your book title if this one's coming. And let us know, what you got out of today's lesson.
Yeah. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. We'll be back next week with another episode to help you grow smarter, work less, and of course, earn more. See you then. Before we wrap up, one more reminder. If this episode resonated with you, the Smart Influencer Summit is where this work goes deeper. Real strategy, real conversations, real implementation. No fluff, no vague inspiration, no manifest your millions nonsense. Just smart creators building smart businesses.
If you're ready to stop circling the same problems and finally solve them, grab your ticket at thesmartinfluencer.com/summit. We would love to see you there.
If today's episode gave you clarity, direction, or even just one solid aha moment, that's your cue to take action.
Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you found this helpful, please share it with a creator friend who needs to hear it. Smart creators build in communities.
And if you're ready to go deeper, whether that's through our mastermind, live events, or free resources, head to thesmartinfluencer.com and get on our list.
That's where we share the strategies, tools, and behind the scenes insights we don't always talk about on the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Now go build something smarter.